Hi, this is Brad with Baker County Trash Pickup. If this is your first time watching one of these videos, my wife and I started a trash pickup company when Waste Management pulled out of our rural county. We have a video where we explain why, so I recommend you watch that. The scene that you saw in the dark was me loading one can up. We only had one new customer this week. I only had time to load their can up Monday, and I was going to drop it off on the route. In the background, you will see me going through the motions. This is the second week in a row of loading trash in this manner, so I'm getting a little bit quicker at the workflow, figuring out where to pull the trailer so I don't have to move the cans as far, where to move the cans when they're empty so I don't have to walk as far. But I did want to cover a couple common comments that I've gotten in the meantime. Say that 5 times fast. One of them is, am I still mowing grass? Yes, I'm still mowing grass. The reason I'm not filming any of them is because none of them are worth filming. Right now, I'm mainly just doing my weekly maintenance work, and that is not any fun to watch. I haven't had any overgrown yard requests. I did have one that I did for a commercial client that I filmed, and that will be a video coming up soon, but they just aren't coming in, so there's nothing to film. Another comment that I've gotten a lot is, any plans for recycling bin? Folks asking when I'm going to offer recycling. I am not going to offer recycling. I spent about $14,000 on 200 trash cans. I still have around 170 of them to place. I'm not going to spend any money on recycling infrastructure. I'm not going to spend the time on a second route. If I offer recycling, I don't see how I could collect it the same time as the trash because it all goes in the dump trailer unless I use the truck bed, but then I'm not going to be able to have very many recycling clients because my truck bed is going to fill up extremely quickly. If I'm going full bore into recycling, I'm going to have a separate route. I'm not willing to do that when I only have 30 trash cans placed. There is no money in me starting recycling right now. Oh, and as a side note, this is a gentleman who signed up for new service. I'm emptying his red can because there just wasn't enough time to get him a new one. But back to recycling, there's just no money in it. People locally don't care about recycling, so the amount of folks who would pay for it is going to be very low. But again, even if a lot of people wanted it, it just doesn't make sense when I have so much money tied up that isn't making me any money in the trash side of things. I have to get all those trash cans placed and have them producing revenue before I can worry about expanding into recycling. On top of that, I don't know where the recycling center is. It's not something that I would make a lot of money for. A lot of people say, well, hey, you can make money on recycling stuff. Not around me. The recycling centers around me, they're not really set up for, they're more like for scrap people, right? And I don't want to add that service. I don't want to worry about that. That's not something I'm interested in doing at this time. I don't think ever, but definitely not right now. When it comes to this yard, there was actually a second trash can out that wasn't mine, this black one. So that was something that I didn't expect. I just ended up doing, like a one-time extra garbage can fee and let the client know. They never said anything, so I don't know if they didn't see it or if they saw it and just didn't care. But, they didn't cancel. So that, to me, was the most fair thing. I also told them if they wanted to switch to a 2-can pickup, that I would just credit them the fee that I had charged, and it would go towards the subscription for that second can. But like I said, I never heard anything back, so I don't think they care about that. The biggest revelation to me this week is that I was wrong about liners. In that, when I first started this, I thought that the liners would just be one giant bag that I just touched one time, and that made the changes really quick, or would make the changes really quick and easy. And while on some, I was going to say on some lawns, on some stops that is still true, what I'm running into a lot, there are many stops that are just too heavy for me to lift the liner as it's full. It's just too heavy. That's one way I was wrong. The other thing that I found out, 3 weeks ago, we tried the trash tipper. That didn't work. So last week and now this week, we're just doing it manually through these side cutouts. But if I put in a full liner, it is so heavy that I can't sling it. All I can do is kind of drop it right in front of the opening. That area is going to fill up with trash, and then I'm not going to be able to put any more trash there because it's going to be too full. So what I've had to do is take the smaller bags and pitch them into the back. That was something I thought I could avoid completely with the liners. In some of those older videos, it was like 2 weeks ago I was saying this. In some of those videos, I was like, well, I don't want to pick out 15 different trash bags, so that's why I have the liners. But because I need to move that trash around inside the trailer, that's exactly what I'm having to do. So I was definitely wrong that liners would keep me from having to touch every bag, because I still need to sling them to the back so I make the most of the space that I have. I was also wrong because I thought they would keep the trash cans cleaner. There are quite a few of my trash cans that have juice and maggots down at the bottom, even though I've put those liners in, and it's just because the trash has either gotten past the liner or the liners have ripped. So that's another thing I was wrong about the liners. This is a can that there's so much loose trash on top that I can't get any more of the bag trash underneath to lighten it. And this is a good example of why this liner isn't working out quite like I wanted it to, especially since I can't put the trash in anywhere on the trailer. It's just this one spot. So the trash will build up there, and then I'll be unable to put more in. But it is what it is. I'm still using the liners. Once the trash gets down to like the very bottom, it does keep me from having to pick loose trash out. It does keep me from having to lean into the can and dig around at the bottom. So I'm still going to use the liners. It's just that I have discovered a little quirk about how I'm now loading trash that means the liners won't work the way I wanted them to. Oh well. Now, a lot of my marketing has revolved around matching Waste Management's price for an annual paid in full plan. And so that's a good monthly rate, but it does require folks to have about $400 to spend at one time. And I'm seeing that I think a lot of folks don't have that. At the time I'm recording this voiceover, we're about to head into week 8 of pickup. So it won't be in next week's video, but we're going to try and do some different things about marketing and see if we can get a more aggressive monthly rate set up. Because right now we are offering the lowest price with the largest cans, but if it requires a pretty significant investment that somebody doesn't have, they can't switch to us. So that's one thing I'm looking at changing a little bit sooner. But we still have been averaging 1 or 2 new customers per week, which is better than nothing, but it is going to be a little bit of a slow grind to get all those 200 cans out. Hopefully, if I can set up a lower monthly rate, then that'll attract a few more folks, but we'll see. That's another thing that I'm going to be working on in the coming weeks. As we look at future growth, the question is, what is the next trash truck? I've had a lot of suggestions about this Parcan Easy Dump, and so I want to spend a few minutes talking about why this is not a good option for me. If you've never heard of the Easy Dump, Parcan is the company that manufactures it, and it fits in the back of a 3/4 or full ton pickup truck, and it's a body that you can equip with a cart tipper. Some of them have sweepers to push the trash bags toward the back and make room for the next stop. And then when you get to your destination, they'll actually dump everything, so there's no manual work involved. There are quite a few issues why this would not work for me, and I want to cover it because this Parcan Easy Dump has been one of the most suggested next steps for my business in the comments. But it simply won't work, and here's why. These Parcan Easy Dumps hold either 6 yards or 8 yards depending on the model that you get. You're going to see towards the end of this video, but already with 20-something trash cans on the street, I am starting to near the limit of what my 7x14 dump trailer will carry. That means a 6 or an 8 yard body would already be too small just a month and a half into the business. That's the biggest reason why it won't work. They are too small. The next issue is the price. Here you can see a new 6 yard body for $34,000. This dump trailer cost me $15,000 and I'm doing 18-month no interest payments on it. So it's only $830 a month for 18 months, roughly. This Parcan would require me to get some kind of financing or just pay cash on $35,000. And again, that's the 6 yard model. That's not even the big one. So if I got the bigger one, it'd probably be closer to $40,000. That's a lot of money for a little tiny dumper that's already going to be undersized for my business now, let alone any more customers I add. And keep in mind, I've got 200 trash cans to add. I'm almost maxing out a 7x14 dump trailer with 20-something clients, so going backwards in size is not a good option for me. Even if the size and price weren't an issue, I have a headache rack, I have a toolbox, and I have a decked storage system on my truck that I use for my other business, the lawn care business. I would not be interested in removing all that stuff. I wouldn't be interested in swapping it out. I still use my pickup truck for my lawn care business, so I don't want this easy dump on the truck bed while I'm going about my lawn care business. So the easy dump is a nice idea, but it's just not made for what I want to grow into. And with my specific set of circumstances, there are so many more disadvantages than advantages. I will not be getting an easy dump body to put on my truck and use in the trash business. One final disadvantage that I just remembered, there is no PTO or power takeoff that drives this unit. So the way that it tips and dumps is all done with electrics. And when you look at electric hydraulic pumps, their duty cycles are usually much lower than PTO-driven hydraulics because that electricity heats the system up a lot more. That means that even if I dealt with the price and even if I dealt with the size, it's very likely that I would max this thing out or even overload it in terms of the amount of work I would do with it if I had 200 cans on the street and I had to run that tipper arm 200 times. But all that's a moot point again because of the size. This isn't even going to hold more than 15 or 20 trash cans worth of trash. So while I appreciate the suggestions on next steps for the trash business, the easy dump is not one of them. Another option we have is a used trash truck, but I'll give you some of the reasons why that worries me. I don't know anything about diesel engines. 99% of the trash trucks out there are diesel. So if there's troubleshooting that is going to need to be done, I don't really feel like I know enough to be able to do it. Not that I could fix a gas engine, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable and have a better base of knowledge for troubleshooting to begin with. It's more of just what's available at what price points, age, and miles. So when I look at under CDL trucks, if you don't know, a CDL is a certain type of driver's license you have to have in order to drive trucks that weigh more than 26,000 pounds. I do not have a CDL. I have no interest in getting one currently, so I need an under CDL truck. What it means on the resale market is that it's a much smaller pool of vehicles that I have to pick from. If you look at used garbage trucks for sale, I would say probably at least 80% of them are CDL trucks. You need to have a CDL in order to drive them. It's pretty difficult to find one that is not over $100,000 and is under 20 years of age and doesn't have a ton of miles on it. For me to find one in the amount of cash I would be willing to spend is just not working out. And if it's a 10, 15, 20-year-old truck, it's very unlikely I'm going to get financing on it. So that means, again, I'd have to come out of pocket for it, and I don't have that money to do that. And when I go back and forth with myself about this too, I'm like, well, what if, once you pay off all the debts in the business, the first $100,000 you save, you put that towards a truck. And that could work, one that's a little bit later model in good condition. But the trucks that $100,000 will buy are rear loaders, which means you still have to have someone driving and then someone outside the truck to tip the cart. And if I'm going to spend $100,000 to still need two people, when the end goal is for me to be able to do this by myself, does it make more sense to just save that $100,000 and keep rolling with the dump trailer? I don't know the answer to that. I'm just telling you the thoughts that I have back and forth. None of it really matters at this point because I just simply don't have the money to spend on a trash truck. And even if the money wasn't an issue, I really just don't have the business to justify the trash truck. Until I break 100 cans, I've really got no business even thinking about buying a truck. Now, don't get me wrong, I have been thinking about buying a truck. I'm just saying I don't have any business thinking about buying a truck. Under 100 cans, I can do that manually. So we'll see what the future holds, but that's why I say I'm fairly confident that in the next probably year or two, there will not be a trash can that I buy just because of the finances of it. Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to slog it out manually and it's going to stink, but that's kind of what the first few years of this business are going to be. Growing it is not going to be fun. I'm not going to make any money. All the money's going to go right back into the business. And hopefully that sets us up down the road to be able to just get a nice brand new side load truck. That's the goal. Whether or not it pans out, there's some of you that have doubts. Hey, just follow along. Every single week I'm going to be making one of these videos. All right, so that's our last stop. This is what the trailer looks like. I would say it's probably a little bit more than half full. Long term, one of the things I'm gonna have to figure out is, you know, what to do with the trailer once it's full. And I think the next step is just raise it up while I'm doing my route, let everything slide back, and then I'll have this empty. But we're not at that point yet. We still have probably another, if that was 20-ish stops, probably once I get to 40 or 50 customers, that's when I'll have to start worrying about the space that I have, and we'll come up with another option. You know, probably just tilting it back and letting everything fall to the back so that the front is open up again. I don't have too much more to go over this week. Aside from the number updates, I'll really rely on you folks to come up with topics for me to talk about, questions that you want answered, things that you may be wondering about. So please, in the comments, let me know what kind of questions you have that you would like me to go over in future videos, and that'll really help me out. But now let's go ahead and get to this week's numbers. One change I'm going to make moving forward with numbers: I will not be counting the specific number of liners that I use anymore. That's going to be too hard to keep track of. So my liner cost for each week will just be the amount of cans I have multiplied by 75 cents per liner. In actuality, it will likely be a little bit less because not everybody puts out all their cans every week. There's some folks who have 2 cans and they only put out 1. Sometimes people don't pull it down to the end of the street because it's not full. So the liner number, just for the sake of simplicity, it will be a worst case scenario. My actual costs may be less. This week we added 1 client and 1 can, which brings us up to 23 clients at 26 cans. That should result in a liner cost of $19.50. Add on top of that our fuel usage, 7.47 gallons at $3.57 a gallon, $26.67. Our costs for this week, $46.17. Our revenue on those 26 cans, $199, which left us with a profit this week of $152.83. We were slightly quicker. There was no traffic at all on the road. There was nobody in front of us at the landfill. So we only spent 3.3 hours, 3 hours and 20 minutes to complete our work for the day. As always, my wife accompanied me, so that meant 6.6 man-hours were spent on today's trash route. The breakdown of our hourly rate for today's trash pickup service, after you back out our expenses, was $23.16 an hour. As always, keep in mind, we aren't really making that much money. This is just a breakdown to try and show how the income and costs of our business are stacking up week over week. Most of our customers are annual paid in full, so these numbers are not accurate as far as what we actually made in a week. And again, if this is the first time you're watching, we are very fortunate in that we don't have to pay for dump fees because our county picks up the tab for us. Today we dumped 820 pounds of trash. We would have had to pay $12.30, so that actually gave us something like $2 an hour extra on our rates. Is that right? If we spent something like 6 man-hours and we saved $12, yeah, that's like $2 extra a man-hour we got. So that's pretty good. And it's definitely something we're thankful for. Right now, it's kind of peanuts, like, you know, 12 bucks a week, great. But that's just on 800 pounds. So if we get to a point where we are dumping 4, 5, 6, 10 tons in a week, that's going to be some real money we don't have to spend. So that should do it for the updates on this week. I really appreciate you folks watching. I think it's so funny you get a kick out of this business. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I'm very glad to make the videos for you guys. so that you can see how we're doing and ask your questions. And one last time, please do ask any questions you have in the comments. Send me emails. What I have to talk about moving forward is going to be less and less without your input. Once we get the kinks ironed out of picking up trash in the dump trailer, there's not going to be much more to talk about if you folks aren't asking me questions. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.